Today's the day. 36 years in the making. Canada has a chance to qualify for the World Cup. It's going to be a big matchup. We're here in Costa Rica. Me, Albert Vartanian, and my partner in crime here, Sarah Pararia, joining us from Toronto. Michael Singh, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm not as good as you guys, though, I gotta say.
Yeah, we got a nice tan going. I got some burnt skin on my arms and my forehead. Sarah, fully tan, so she's good to go. But listen, Mike, huge game. Obviously, lots to play for Canada, but for Costa Rica as well, and I don't think we can dismiss that. They have a chance to break into the top four on the table at the moment. How difficult is this game going to be for Canada?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. There's going to be a lot of desperation out of this Costa Rican side. I mean, I read reports that they've shut down their league season for like the past 2 weeks just in preparation for this game because it's that big of a game for them. Not necessarily to crack the top three, but more so to get into that top four because they're just 1 point behind Panama, I believe, entering tonight's matchup. And there's a lot to play for with Costa Rica. This is a side that's made the World Cup, four of the last 5 times. They know how to get it done, and it's gonna be a treacherous away environment that I don't think Canada has really experienced yet before in this qualifying cycle.
Yeah, Sarah, we've been out here. We've got to get a feeling of how the fans in Costa Rica feel. You had an interesting conversation with a cab driver who was really confident, saying that Costa Rica was going to give Canada their first loss.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's the national game here. They're gonna that we've seen jerseys everywhere we go. Everyone's decked out in the Costa Rica gear. They're excited, and I think the thing is, a lot of these players on the squad right now, it's going to be their last time to potentially make a World Cup, right? So not only for the fans, but for the players as well. They want one last chance of getting that qualification, making it to the World Cup, and having that shot. So it's Mike's right. You're right. It's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, this is a team that's consistently qualified for the World Cup. I mean, there's been a couple of years where they missed out, but it's still a strong team, a strong CONCACAF team. I think there's 4 or 5 players on that team who made the quarterfinals with Costa Rica, I think back in 2014. So they have that veteran leadership. They have some young players as well, and now they're going to have the home fans, which, Mike, I think it's a huge advantage being at home, full capacity. Everything's been lifted, 35,000 fans. I mean, there's going to be a small pocket of Canadian fans, but I think, the cliche of the 12th man is really going to help Costa Rica here.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Canada have caught a lot of breaks during this qualifying cycle. When they went down to the Azteca, it wasn't full capacity whatsoever. When they went to Honduras, same thing. El Salvador, they were pretty much out of it by the time Canada got down there, so it wasn't that same environment. So I don't think Canada has really gone into a Central American environment that's going to be as rowdy as the fans there in Costa Rica tonight. So we'll see how they, I guess, adapt, how they really face this challenge because, like I said, it's going to be new. And what I'll say, though, is this is a new Canada, as John Herman often preaches. So I'm interested to see kind of how they'll react to sort of what this game will mean to the Costa Ricans and their fans.
Started off this qualifying campaign a little rough, but they've turned it around, specifically in the last window. 7 points from that last window, wins against Panama, Jamaica, and a draw at Mexico. Pretty good results. It seems like an uptick in form, Sarah. Do you expect that to continue heading into tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to use everything they can get, right? This is their shot against probably the best team in this, group of qualifiers. And I think, they're going to want to prove to their fans that we're here, we're not giving up, we're fighting for everything. So, yeah, I don't know. It's they're going to come out swinging for sure.
Interesting that Costa Rica hasn't lost by more than 1 goal. And now enter Keylor Navas, who's been so good, one of the best players on their team, their goalkeeper. He's just a player that solidifies that back line. He captains it. I think he gives confidence to the players as well. How much of an impact does he have on this team, Mike?
The world of an impact, honestly. If you think back to when Canada faced Costa Rica back in November, the goalkeeper that day, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but that just goes to show how much of a name and commodity Keylor Navas is. But he dropped the ball that gave Jonathan David that goal that saw Canada win 1-0 in Edmonton. Keylor Navas isn't making that mistake. So I think just having him behind their back line gives them that much more reassurance. And yeah, goalkeepers sometimes get overlooked, but this is a guy that's their star. That's their go-to guy. So just having him back in the squad, I think will lift them up and make Canada's challenge a little bit tougher.
Yeah, I want to talk about kind of how this game is going to play out, because at times Canada can be a counterattacking side. At times, Costa Rica can be a tight defensive unit. I think most of the time they can be a counterattacking side. But I really feel like in this matchup, Costa Rica is going to be the one that has to push the game and take the game to Canada, which can really play into Canadian teams' hands. So, Sarah, how do you feel they're going to come out and play against Canada?
Well, I think they're going to try and score first, get that advantage quickly and right away, kind of catch Canada off guard. But these are two of the best defensive sides in CONCACAF, right? So I think we are going to see it's going to be a counter game. It's like 100%, they're going to, any advantage they can get, any long balls. I think we're going to see this from both sides because both of these teams are so strong defensively. And yeah, you guys mentioned Keylor Navas, but we got to talk about Milan as well. Like we were talking about, two of the best goalies in CONCACAF as well. It's going to be tight.
Do you expect the same, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think you put a pretty cool stat there earlier, Albert, that Costa Rica in all of their games, but they played 11 games so far, it's been either a 1-goal game or it's been a draw, which is absurd considering the type of talent that they're facing here in the CONCACAF region. And that's just a testament to sort of the type of style of play that Costa Rica likes. They like sitting back, they like chaos, but as Sarah points out, this is a game they might have to go for it because of what's at stake at this point. So I expect them to kind of come out on the front foot, but you have to be very wary of Canada in that regard because they can hit you, they can burn you on the counter attack. Like Tajon Buchanan is going to be so important for this team today just because of his legs, his mobility, and then obviously up top, Jonathan David and Kyle Larin can make you pay in an instant. So it's gonna be I think maybe an open game to start, but if Canada gets a half chance or a chance or here like chance or two there, I don't know, they might have to tighten up and go back to their original game plan.
One of Canada's strengths is flexibility. They can change formations. They can change how they take the game. They can sit back. John Herdman had a media call yesterday. You were in it as well, Michael Singh. And it was interesting. He kind of mentioned that he wants to take more of an attacking approach. He looked at some of the numbers and some of the analytics from the last window, and he wasn't happy with some of the drops, I guess, in performance where they're trying to manage games too early and giving up a lot of possession and giving up a lot of the pitch to the opposition. So it sounds like, if I'm reading in between the lines here, Mike, that he wants a more of an attacking approach. And he even mentioned, listen, if we're a goal or 2 goals up, we still want to take it to the other side.
Yeah, they took their foot off the gas pedal, I think, a little bit too early, as you mentioned, the last window, and perhaps allowed the opposition to put them under pressure a little bit too early. But what I've learned from John Herdman, he loves playing mind games through the media. I wouldn't be surprised if, he talks about maybe starting off on the attacking foot, but I wouldn't be surprised if they roll out 5 at the back or something, just because, like I said, he loves playing those mind games, and you can never really predict kind of what John Herdman is going to do today. So I do expect Canada to fare better, I guess, if they do go up and get the lead. But that being said, I wouldn't read too much into much that John Herdman gives out prior to the match.
Yeah, he doesn't give much away, and predicting his 11 is always so difficult. And I want to get into that, but yesterday I was there and I noticed how, a little narrow that pitch is. And I saw Alistair Johnson. He walked up to the corner and he was taking steps towards it. And he seemed to be frustrated with how tight of a run-up he had to the corner. Later on, John Herdman came out. He was actually measuring the line. He was with his feet just walking across the field to check how narrow the pitch actually is. Sarah, do you think that's going to play into Costa Rican's game plan, or is it going to affect Canada in any way?
Well, when I was looking up some stats about this game, it's actually the exact same dimensions as BMO Field. It's 106 by 68, or 105 rather, by 68. The thing is, and from what I saw from your pictures being there, there's no extra turf or extra grass on the side. So these corners are going to be tough because of that lap that goes around it. But for Costa Rica, exactly, they're used to playing here. This is their home pitch. A lot of teams in Central and South America have pitches like this, and it's I think it allows them to, kind of have a one-up on their opponents because, you're saying there are Canadian players that are already sussing out the field, looking a little wary, but technically it is the same dimensions as BMO. It's just that extra grass on the side.
Yeah, I mean, CONCACAF team seems to have their own type of home field advantage, as we see with Canada at home and Edmonton with the snow. We have Costa Rica with the narrow pitch. Mike, is this narrow pitch thing, is this a non-issue?
Well, I think you have to approach it that way. I don't think you can kind of get too caught up in sort of the mind games that Costa Rica is playing here. But I will say it probably suits them a little bit better if the pitch is indeed a little bit more narrow. Costa Rica is a team that likes to play and thrive off chaos in the middle. They like getting into tackles. They like sticking a foot in. And if the pitch is not as wide, then it's not as easy for Canada, who I believe have a lot more quality than Costa Rica. It's not easy for them to just keep possession the way that they probably want to. So with a narrow pitch, it probably does benefit Costa Ricans a little bit more. But that being said, it's an environment, it's CONCACAF, you got to adjust. And I think Canada will do so very well today.
What about John Herdman, thinking about his starting 11, the formation that he's going to play? With a narrow pitch, obviously, they're not going to be able to play as wide as they like. You think, Mike, that will come into his thinking when he's trying to put out his 11? He's probably selected it already.
Yeah, probably knowing him, but I don't think so. I think the battles in the park might be won in some of those key areas out wide that can make the difference up the middle. So I still believe that John Herdman, in some way, shape, or form, whether he starts in a 4-4-2 or whatever, I think he gets out to 5 at the back, or 3 at the back, whichever way you want to look at it, just because of the quality that Canada has on the wing. And as I mentioned earlier, them on the counter, I think there's no better way to kind of get your wingers involved than having those wingbacks, and something they've proven they're very good at. So I wouldn't read too much into that personally.
Yeah, I'd like to get both of your takes on predicted 11 for tonight. But Sarah, do you agree with Mike? Do you think Canada will go to a back 5 or back 3?
Yeah, I think he's right. Like, you can't, change the way they play because of this pitch. And in a sense, what they've been doing has been working, and they have to, keep their consistency, I think. And like I said, like, it doesn't seem like the pitch is actually in dimensions. It's just, rather I think it's like an optical illusion because of that lap, but technically it says it's the same size. So I think Herdman's gonna keep playing the way he's been playing, potentially with that 5 in the back. We might see it, like we said, both defensive sides. I don't know, but they have to stick to what they know and not give into the mind games that we're all saying.
Okay, let's talk about that back 3, Mike. Mikest Vittoria. It's kind of a question mark on his fitness. I saw him yesterday. The media saw him yesterday. He looked fine. He's able to walk, but we don't know exactly what the issue is there and if he'll end up starting tonight. He did mention it's not a time to make excuses, which makes me think maybe he'll get into that back 3. But if he doesn't, where does John Herdman go?
Derek Cornelius, I believe. He's probably next in line just because of his ability to kind of play in the middle of that back 3. This is a guy who's had a pretty solid run overseas there, and it's been like a bit of struggles for him in the past, but he's come into his form. He's looking good, and I believe he does warrant a look if Vittoria isn't able to go. But that'll be a huge loss for Canada if they don't have their leader there in the middle. So hopefully he's good to go, Albert.
Yeah, question marks around the wingbacks as well. I mean, there's a bit of a concern. No Alphonso Davies, obviously, he's still with Bayern Munich. Sam Adekugbe, suspended. So now you're left with Richie Larea and potentially Alistair Johnson on one side, maybe Tajon Buchanan. Sarah, who do you have filling out those positions for Canada?
Yeah, I think Mike, already brought up Tajon and his speed. I think he's going to be super important, and I'd really like to see him start as well. Like, use the young guys, because we have to remember we're playing a team that is much older on average than our team. So use that to your advantage. And also, like, I love seeing Richie play, especially these games against like Central and South American teams, because they're a bit more aggressive. Football down here is just different. And Richie is one of those guys. He is an aggressive guy. He gets in your face and he pisses you off, but in the best way possible for our team, because he does everything to, he'll take a yellow. He'll do what he has to do. But I think Richie could be extremely important and the kind of player we need on this pitch today against the Costa Rican side.
Yeah, so Larea moved from Toronto FC to Nottingham Forest in January, and it's well known he hasn't had a minute of playing time at Forest. So cause for concern heading into this game. Mike, for Richie Larea, is Herdman going to be thinking about his lack of playing time at Nottingham Forest?
You always have to think about it. I think whether you believe he can push through and still give you quality minutes, or whether you believe that he might have to take a shorter shift just based on the fact he hasn't really been playing too much, you always have to factor that in. But what I like about John Herdman is that when you have guys like a Richie Larea who have been so important to your squad over this World Cup qualifying run, he's not afraid to throw them back at him. We saw that in January with a couple of the players that weren't even in the season in Major League Soccer, yet they were important pieces on that Canada team that beat USA at Tim Hortons Field. I mean, a guy like Alistair Johnson, for example, and Richie Larea, who was yet to feature there for Nottingham Forest. So, I think it will factor to his mindset a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially given the fact that Sam Adekugbe isn't available, that Richie Larea gets to start.
All right, let's talk about the midfield. Herdman kind of hinted towards who he might start there, at least two players, in Stefan Eustáquio and Atiba Hutchinson, because, I mean, those are two players who can keep the tempo for Canada. A concern with Eustáquio, Mike, is the lack of playing time at Porto as well. But that doesn't seem to really be an issue for John Herdman. I think, to me personally, that probably is one of the more well-balanced midfields, and I think Herdman probably feels the same way. Do you expect to see both of them playing alongside each other?
Yeah, I do, Albert. It's not really a surprise for me. Well, Stephen Eustáquio, I mean, in my opinion, he could be the best midfielder in the CONCACAF region. And I think he's been one of the most important players for Canada throughout this entire qualifying campaign. And alongside him, Atiba Hutchinson, the veteran, we know how important he is to this team, not just on the pitch, but just his overall mentality. When you see Atiba out there, I'm sure it ignites a lot of belief within the squad. So yeah. I'm not surprised at all. I believe that they will start the match, Albert, and I wouldn't be surprised if they put in a solid shift.
Yeah, and Sarah, up front, we got to talk about the two guys. I think we're most likely going to see Kyle Larin and Jonathan David. There was question marks on whether or not they were able to play with each other, but we saw in the last window, they complement each other really well. I think that's probably the front two Herdman's going to go with. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's a really lovely pairing, as you were saying, we saw in the last, round of qualifiers, because, we have David, who's super fast and young and just agile. And then Larin, leading goal scorer, a bit of a veteran. I love when players complement each other so well with the aged player, the young player. And I said it yesterday, I'm taking Larin to actually score. I am taking him 100%. He's going to be our guy. You have to back him. He's absolutely he doesn't fail. And it's I don't know. It's really I really enjoy the two of them together up there. I think it would give Canada the boost we need.
Yeah, Mike, there's been a couple of unsung heroes on this Canadian team. I think Mikest Vittoria is one of them. Kyle Larin has to be the other one. The turnaround he's made for Team Canada, not only for Team Canada, but for himself. And we didn't think that, a lot of people didn't think that he'd be able to reach this level, especially internationally, but he has. How important has he been to this team?
Oh, I can't find the words to say how important he's been. What is he? Canada's all-time leading scorer in international A goals now. This is a guy who, as Sarah said, he's proven now on the international stage, and he's vital to them up top. But I am a little bit concerned at the fact that he hasn't scored with Besiktas since Canada's last window. So he's actually been moved to the bench with that team. So I wonder how much that goes to factor into John Herdman's decision making here. I know he likes playing both of those guys up top together. They feed off each other. Jonathan David, he's gone on record saying he's at his best when Kyle Larin is there on the pitch alongside him. So perhaps he just has that same sort of Richie Larea, Stefan Eustáquio factor, where no matter what your form is, you kind of get into the squad. But there's people behind him that are going to be pushing for that. Someone like a Lucas Cavallini of the Vancouver Whitecaps, who's in great form, as well as, you can't look beyond Junior Hoylett or Ike Ugbo, who are, both guys who can definitely step in and do a great job up top. So I want to see how kind of Herdman elects to, I guess, deploy his strikers. It'll be interesting. And I do want to give a quick shout out. You talk about unsung heroes. What about our guy, Jonathan Osorio?
Yes.
You want to talk about the form that he's in. He's playing lights out right now for Toronto FC. I think he probably will start this game as sort of the number 10 there in the midfield alongside Eustáquio and Atiba Hutchinson. So I think he's going to be just as important to the squad as anyone else tonight.
Yeah, one important thing to note, if they win, they're in. I think that is probably one of the best scenarios and the only scenario that I truly understand. There's a lot of things that can happen with Canada in terms of draws and with what happens if they lose, but win and they're in. So I'm going to start with you, Sarah. Prediction for tonight's game.
So we spoke about this yesterday, and I originally had said 2-1. I said that Costa Rica is going to score. They're going to, in front of their home fans, they're going to want to show up. But I think Canada is going to take the win. But after thinking about it, sleeping on it, waking up today, feeling the energy, I actually think Canada might run away with a 1-0. I'm thinking it's going to be low scoring. We're talking about the two defensive sides, but I think Canada will get the better of Costa Rica, even with the home advantage. So I'm going to take Canada 1-0, and I'm going to take Larry for it.
Mike, are you expecting a tight game as well?
I'm expecting a tight game, absolutely. I'm more on the side that I do believe that it'll be a draw. I mean, as we mentioned, Costa Rica is so desperate, and Canada hasn't played in this environment yet. So I'm a little bit more reserved than Sarah is there. But I hope she's right. I do.
I do too. I think it's going to be tight as well. I think I initially went for a 0-0, and I said if I put on my Canada hat, it'd be 1-0 Canada with Atiba Hutchinson scoring the winner, because that's just poetic. Who would want to see Hutchinson score the goal that sends Canada to the World Cup? So there it is. That was our preview for Costa Rica, Canada. Throw all the permutations out the window. Win, and Canada is in, and that's the only thing that's going to be on their minds heading into the night's game against Costa Rica in San Jose, Costa Rica. For Michael Singh, Sarah Pararia, I'm Albert Vartanian. Thanks so much for watching Parlay TV and Fast Money Football.